Hi, everyone. This is Raquel.
Hi, and this is Jennifer.
Welcome to Madness Cafe.
This is a feminist podcast where we talk about women's issues, politics, and health and wellness.
And where those issues intersect. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Madness Cafe. Oh, look, Jennifer's dancing. Okay.
It's my singing, huh?
No, I like your singing and your dancing. I love them both. Hey, everybody. Today it's just going to be me and Jennifer. And we're going to do a type of episode that we haven't done in a very long time. Maybe it's been about a year. I don't know. Maybe longer, maybe not. But we are going to do a kind of an update, like what's up with Raquel and Jennifer these days. So there we go. We're basically going to get you guys kind of caught up on what's going on with us, kind of some updates a little bit on things that we've talked about previously on the pod. And yeah, just kind of general, like, what's going on. So Jennifer, do you want to start first or do you want me to start first? Or we can go back and forth too. So
what's going on? Yeah, I think we should do like tell me something new and then I'll tell you something new and then we'll ask questions. I don't know. Tell us something new. What's going on with you?
Well, we'll start with me personally, and then the next thing will be like kind of macro. I talked before about my journey with ADHD and about being diagnosed at the age of 54. I think I mentioned on that episode that I wasn't against meds, but I wanted to try it on my own first.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that didn't last very long. Maybe later in my journey when I've learned more and I have better skills in my toolbox, then maybe I can do things without medication. But right now, I'm starting medication. Like I started almost 2 weeks ago.
Congratulations to you. Congratulations to you. Congratulations, dear Raquel. It's the year of Raquel.
I love you, Jennifer. That's awesome. I'm going to take that little snippet and just and put it on my phone, and then I'm going to play that for myself all the time. So yeah, so I have started on medication, and thankfully I'm working with a nurse practitioner who is very skilled at helping people get started on ADHD medication and kind of gradually like figuring out the right medication and the right dosage and that kind of thing. So that's great. There wasn't any sort of fear like, oh my God, stigma, like there's none of that. Like I have no stigma around medication at all. There's no shame to that at all. I mean, we all know better living through chemistry. I'm medicated to high hell. So, that's totally cool. I just didn't know how my body was going to react, or because we're starting me on a stimulant, which I think, a lot of people who have ADHD are on some form of a stimulant. The most popular one is Adderall. And so she has started me on like a little baby dose. I can tell that it's helping a little bit.
How long have you been on that?
Almost 2 weeks.
Okay, cool.
And so the way that she has it set up is that we have an appointment every 2 weeks to talk about how things are going with the medication and how my body's reacting and how I emotionally and mentally am reacting to it, that sort of thing, and then sort of adjust as necessary. So she only gives me like a 14-day prescription. We talk about how things, are standing at that point, and then adjust, like I said, as we need to do.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. And I was not expecting that. Like she's very, very hands-on. And she's really easy to talk to. She's awesome. She's also going to keep an eye on my antidepressant medication as well. So, because her thing is she wants to be the one who's prescribing both of those so that she can keep an eye on how things interact with each other, how I'm reacting to everything. Yeah, just she can kind of keep an eye on all of it, right?
Yeah, makes total sense.
Yeah. so I'm going to meet with her again in just a few days.
Cool.
And what I would like to do is, I'm going to talk to her about it, but what I think may need to happen is that we need to increase my dosage on my ADHD medication, because I'm not quite there yet. I'm not quite there yet.
How can you tell?
Because I'm still not making the progress that I want to make as far as retaining information. Like, my working memory is just crap. I literally have to write almost everything down. Or, I mean, like, before I was like, oh, I'll remember this, it'll be fine. Yeah, no, I had to let go of that. Like, some things stick in my brain,
Mhm.
but it doesn't always make sense what's going to stick. I mean, if I'm hyper focused on something or I'm super interested, oh, heck yeah, it's going to stick. Or if I'm in a situation where I'm not having to do like a million things at once, like, at work, where I'm having to like jump from one thing to another and kind of
Right.
spin on a dime kind of thing. So I'm just like, you know what? It's just a thing. I'm going to have to write things down. I can't do the whole, I'm going to hold it in my head. I'm going to hold it in my head at least till I get to my desk. Yeah. I need to write it down. Yeah. So I'm starting to realize that, like, yeah, there's changes still need to happen. Right. And I'm still trying to learn what new skills or hacks or tricks, like whatever, systems to put in place to help. And that's partly because I'm still learning, like, about ADHD in general, and about you know how it shows up in my life, like
Yeah.
work and personal. And I'm still learning about, like, well, what do other people do, right? Like, what are the hacks that, what I'm still learning. But what I can say, so before I get into it has been really hard, and I don't think I expected it to be as hard as it has been. Like, I thought, oh, I've got a diagnosis now. Okay, we're done. Everything's gonna be great. Oh, I'll get on medication and then it'll be easy. Mm, there's still a really steep ass learning curve with
Mm.
this,
I'm
which
sorry.
no, thank you. But honestly, when I look at it, I'm like, wow, I was being really naive. I was being
Aren't we all? I mean,
yeah,
give me
yeah,
something, make it better.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And another thing that I'm realizing too is that, like, I'm a fairly sensitive, tenderhearted person anyway. And ADHD on top of it it just makes it that much tougher. Plus, I really, really, really care about doing a good job and not letting people down, and eh, not causing other people any frustration. Like, there's all that stuff. So
Yeah.
it all kind of mingles in together. And at work, it's really easy for that to show up as me, like, being hard on myself to a degree that is just bordering on absurd, right? And in the moment, I'm not thinking, oh, I'm being absurd with how I'm reacting. I'm just thinking, oh God, I did this thing, and the world's gonna cave in. I'm gonna get fired. Even though, God bless the people that I work with, they are so understanding and so supportive. And I know it can't be easy for some of them, because some of them have never encountered anybody with ADHD, and they're like, I don't really know what's going on. I just know, you know, whatever. Sometimes Raquel makes careless mistakes and she's taking it really hard. Thankfully, everybody is still just incredibly supportive, which I thoroughly appreciate.
That is
Um,
an interesting word that you used. You said careless mistake after you just told me how much you care. It's a really interesting
okay.
word.
Yeah, that actually, yeah, yeah, yeah. I didn't pick up on that, but I'm glad you did.
Because it really isn't
I think
careless, is it?
no. And I think maybe me calling it careless is part of me beating up on myself.
I wasn't gonna say that out loud, but if you're willing to say it.
Yeah, I'm willing to say it. Yeah, ugh.
Yeah, because that is such an interesting word now that we look at that, because careless, going with mistake, like, how many people make mistakes that really didn't care about it? Probably few
Yeah,
and far between.
yeah, that's a really good point.
And
That's a really good
you,
point.
who just told me how tenderhearted you are, who I know how tenderhearted you are, of course you care. You made a mistake that you care very, very, very much about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so one of my coworkers wrote on a little sticky and she's like, "Put this on your computer." And I was like, "Okay." She wrote, "The punishment does not fit the crime." And then she put a little heart. And
Oh,
I was like,
what a
that makes
sweetheart.
sense. She's worked with incredibly supportive people. I really can't knock that at all. I mean, I was just like, okay, so now it's on my monitor at work,
That's cool.
as my reminder. And I have to say, so there was an incident that happened today, and I was just like, oh God, oh God, oh God, like literally, like immediately just right to catastrophe, right? Just right into the deep end. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna figure out how to fix it. I'm gonna figure out how to fix it. I'm throwing myself on the sword, whatever. I'll do the heavy lifting to fix it because I'm the one who screwed up, whatever. And I went into, like, after I gave myself a few minutes, I went into my boss's office and I was like, hey, what in lieu of what just happened, how about, can we change this process to this? And he's like, yeah, we can do that. I mean, literally almost just as easily as I just said, yeah, sure. And I was like,
Wow.
oh, okay. He goes, thank you for thinking of that. He goes, that's easy to do. We can totally do that. And I was like,
That is such a big deal, Raquel. You
that's
went in
huge.
with a solution. Okay, big time
Yeah,
kudos for that.
thank you.
And wow, he said yes.
Yes.
That's a big deal.
Yes.
That doesn't always happen in workplaces.
Very true. And I have to say, I mean, like I keep saying it, I've said it before, I'll continue to say it. I work with amazing, supportive, caring people. And literally, my boss is one of, if not the best boss I think I've ever had. One of my coworkers was asking me, like, hey, what can we do to help you?
That's impressive.
And I literally, yeah, I mean, I was blown away by that. And I said, you know what? I go, honestly, I don't know yet. I really don't know. I go, I'm still learning. And she's like, that's fair. As I'm learning and figuring things out, like today, this going in my boss's office and going, hey, can we change this process to this? And he's like, okay. And so literally that's one accommodation that occurred to me. And others maybe will occur to me as we go. But the fact that I felt safe enough and comfortable enough to go to my boss and say, hey, can we try this? That's huge, because I've had bosses before who would not have even entertained the idea,
Yeah.
and I would not have even felt comfortable suggesting it. So yeah, so yes, my journey it's difficult, but yes, knowing what's going on does help a lot. But I've got a long way to go. And, like we've interviewed people on the show who say things like, oh, my neurodivergence or my whatever is my superpower. I am not there yet. I am not even close.
You may be surprised to find out as you get on this journey about, and maybe I'm wrong, but you may come to find that it actually is your superpower, but the things that you don't understand right now are getting in the way of that.
Yes. Yes. And I hope to God that you are right. I
We'll see.
really hope that you're right, because that would be a very lovely way to think about it. But I'm trying to stay hopeful, because there's no reason not to, really. But yeah, I can get really down on myself. Like over the weekend was really, really down on myself. And so I kind of ride that line of letting myself feel it and not push it down or push it away to, am I wallowing in this?
I mean, yeah, it's hard. You got to learn that, right?
Yeah. And I think every situation's different. Like sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'm wallowing in this. And then sometimes I'm like, no, I'm just letting myself feel it. And then I'll move on.
Okay, but what if you were wallowing in it? You don't get to do that for a little while? That's not okay for you?
No, well, I guess it is okay for a little while. I mean, I don't want to get stuck there.
Yeah. I mean, no one said wallow forever, but like,
Yeah, good point.
but a little wallowing is like sometimes we need to wallow.
That's a good point.
We need to wallow. And I need to wallow today. Today I feel like almost when you sing that song, you almost can't wallow.
I love that. I love it. Yeah, I'm gonna take a little snippet of that little piece of the audio. I'm gonna take that one too.
You need to wallow today. Well,
so, yeah. So that's what's going on with me personally right now, or at least it's maybe the biggest thing that's going on with me personally right now. So there we go.
Since you talked about your journey,
maybe
I'll talk about my journey. It wasn't where
yes, please.
It wasn't where I was going to go first, but
well,
ADHD journey to psilocybin journey.
Nice. All right.
Yeah. So
details, please.
Okay, I don't know how many details I can give, but
as many as you are willing and able to share.
But I did do my first psilocybin journey this last week.
Okay.
And wowzers, it is pretty amazing. I am beat. I don't know how like the hippie children
emotionally or physically, or what do you mean?
Well, I don't know how the hippie children of the 60s did this like every weekend, because this is, of course, I'm not a kid. I'm 55, right? Yeah. So that might have something to do with it.
Love it.
I am not beat emotionally. Emotionally, I feel really fucking fantastic. I was awesome. Able to really work on a lot of trauma. Okay. So what I did, just to clarify. Okay. And no shade on anybody who does this any way that they do it. But I did not go out with a bunch of friends and go on a journey. What I did was work with professional people who are trained. One is a trained psychotherapist, and they're both trained sitters with lots of experience. Good. And I went with a group of women, and all of the women in my group were working on some sort of sexual trauma in their early childhood. Oh, okay. So it was a very focused topic. It was a very focused group. Okay. There was a lot of pre-work. There was pre-work that involved like signing up for it, doing some, how would I put it? Doing some medical background to make sure that each of us were safe to do this. Okay. A little bit of psychological background to see where we were, most specifically where I was in my head, what I was hoping to accomplish, why I wanted to do this, to kind of set some goals.
Okay.
So there was some pre-work. Then we pre-met as a group in a Zoom, got to know each other, got
Hmm.
to like start building what is called in this work a container, a safe
Okay.
container. Then we met together and we did a lot of pre-work before we even began the mushroom journey. So there was a lot of, again, setting intentions, checking in, how are we feeling, what's going, a lot of embodiment work. We
Okay.
were I was taught very specifically a centering technique. Something that came in very helpful for me in my journey was that I was taught if something became overwhelming, that I could open my eyes, look for the left, look to the right, and recenter. That's
Ooh.
recentering. And I did it several times. It actually worked. So I wanted to share that with people. I was told when I first did my breath work that breath work was much better than doing a drug, a
Hmm.
psilocybin or something like that, because if you got into a situation you were uncomfortable with, you could stop breathing. Well, I found this technique to be exactly the same. If I was into a situation where I was starting to feel some type of anxiety or something, open my eyes, looked left, looked right, reset. And it actually
Okay.
worked.
Wow.
So we were taught lots of techniques. We did a lot of bonding. One of the things that happened was I was asked how I was feeling in my body, and I had to really think about it. And I was feeling some anger before I even got into before we even did anything with the medicine. I was invited to go outside and work on some anger work before we started to kind of get some of that out of my system. And it turned out that all the women joined because they all felt like they also had some anger. And it was like a really good like body release before we ever even went into the session.
Okay.
So
Good.
what I'm trying to say, I guess long story short, is that there doesn't have to be, people can go out and just do it, but in my situation there was a lot of pre-work to set the table for what I was trying to accomplish in the journey. We did the mushrooms. For me, it was just like the breath work. I put on the shades, I laid back, and I was there. And for
Wow.
me, the psilocybin and the mushrooms, they just sort of like, they were very buoyant, and they just sort of like cradled me.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and they talked to me. And so basically what they said is my intention had been really to kind of reset myself, to bring myself back to the me that I knew before I got off track.
Okay.
Like back to I know who I remember like knowing who I was and feeling very confident in that. And then somewhere along the way, I got way off kilter with it. So I wanted to get a reset.
Right.
So basically what the mushrooms told me is they said, so we can do this one of two ways. You can go through very, very slowly, like you do in therapy,
Hmm.
and you can relive every detail of every trauma
Okay.
and revisit it and work on it and clear it. Or we can kind of just like work at it and reset you. You don't have to remember anything, but it is going to be kind of fast and steady, and it's going to be work.
Okay.
And so I said, I'll do the fast and steady. I'm like, I'm up for that. And then there was like this negotiation period where they were like, well, what about this? And I can't even remember the details of that, but they were like, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And I was like, yes, I'll do this. Yes, I'll do that. No, I don't want to do that. Yes, I'll do this. And there was like this negotiation period to what are we going to work on?
Hmm.
And then it was kind of like little gentle at first, boom, 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 boom. But then it was like whack, whack, whack. I was like beat up because it was like whatever it was pulling all
Oh,
of these
wow.
aggressions, like, and I felt it like physically. It didn't hurt, don't get me wrong, no
Right.
pain whatsoever,
Good.
but it was like with each one, and weirdly enough, I relived like some child trauma where I had this accident when I was a kid. You see the
Hmm. A
bump right there?
little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
So when I came out, I had, this is where my trauma was. I had a brand new trauma on top of it. I had a cut here. My nose was all red. My chin was all red. It was like I had re-damaged my face, but I was laying there the whole time. I never moved.
No way.
Yeah, totally. I totally went through. When I was about 2, I fell out of the side of my mom's VW bus and
Mhm.
got that scar and it all just rewound out of me.
Wow.
Yeah. I journeyed for a very long time. I was not done at 5 or 6 hours later, like most people are. Mine went
Okay.
on into the early morning. I never slept.
Wow.
I had a conversation with my mother. I learned all kinds of things about myself. And I think if I were to do it again, and I'm glad I did what I did, but I wouldn't be as ambitious because it was a lot. It was a lot. I mean, as you know, I
Yeah.
canceled our recording of our podcast. I never do that.
Mhm.
I didn't go to my class. I never do that. I'm always like, I can do anything. But I was just like, I actually felt my body felt like I could feel. You remember a couple years ago when I got hit by the car?
Yeah.
I felt like I was healing my concussion.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I just knew that I just needed to lay in bed and
Yeah.
take care of myself, and I didn't get on Facebook. I didn't get into social media. I just stayed in my I only talked to very few people. I stayed very quiet, and the next day I was better.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm glad you took that time for yourself and you listened to your body and your spirit and
I don't think I
just
actually had a
rested.
choice this time. I
Wow.
don't think I could have done the podcast.
Mhm.
I just physically wasn't up to it. So yeah, I did it. One of the main things that I learned, and people talk about this, and we've talked about it. One of the main things I learned on my journey is that we are all one, and there is no question about that. There is absolutely no question. You are me, I am you. We
Wow.
are the warlord, as we've talked about
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
We're actually even Donald Trump, I'm sorry to say.
Oh,
I know, but he's part of us. He's
yeah.
a very, very, very wounded part of us.
Yeah.
He shows us our shadow side. Oh, and
Mm.
this, I really wanted to talk to you about this. I had a confrontation with my own racism.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Say more, please. How did that happen?
Well, I don't know exactly how it happened, but it was, you know, the interesting thing about the mushrooms is I did have a lot of that like psychedelic stuff, blah, 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 blah. But that really wasn't the important stuff. And it was beautiful, but
Mhm.
it was mostly like
Okay.
conversations with myself, conversations with my voices, my young voices, my older voices. I did see myself in the mirror, very old, very young, very old, very young. It was like, whoa, like all that was really cool.
Cool.
But there was a point where I'm trying to think of how it came up. I think it what podcast did we talk about the black square? That was
Um, the one with
yeah.
Kara Tuttle.
So somehow I kind of got on that in my mind about the black square and how it's performative and
Mhm.
how I did do that. And I was like, but I didn't mean it as performative. But then the mushrooms, they asked me to like dig deeper.
Mhm.
They were like, dig deeper. Why do you do the things you do? And here is one of the things that was like, remember the boyfriend I had when George Floyd got not hurt, when
Murdered.
George Floyd got murdered.
Yeah.
And the boyfriend said something to me like, well, he was probably on drugs.
Yeah.
And I got so angry and I broke up with him.
Yeah.
Well, we're all one, right?
Right.
I'm dating this man who says, well, he was on drugs. And I thought, well, no one deserves to be murdered for that. And no one does. But there was part of me was like, yeah, he was on drugs. I had to
Wow.
dig deeper, like to be
Right.
on, here I am on drugs going, to be on drugs is wrong. It's sort of funny how the universe serves this stuff to you.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, because I was born in the Dare generation.
Yep.
And I did think, and I, you know, I still have issues with marijuana, and I actually still have issues with psilocybin, right? Like, I
Yeah.
think you have to do it therapeutically. You shouldn't be doing it recreationally, but that's a judgment.
Right.
So there was that, and then I was also thinking about, like, the Peace Corps, and
Hmm.
the Peace Corps, you know, w how are we saying that, okay, what was I? I was like 23-year-old white woman
Hmm.
graduating with a business degree. We're sending her to do some training in another country, live in a village. And what am I saving people? What am I doing? Why am I there? And I had to
Yeah.
really think about that. Like, what was my agenda? And you know, it's not all like good or bad or black or white, or it's there's nuances. Like,
Right.
I did have a sweet, loving heart. I wasn't trying to do something out of male intent, but yet it is racist. It is racist to go into someone's village thinking that you're the fucking white savior.
Yeah.
Do you hear what I'm saying?
I do.
And I never really I knew parts of it. I
Hmm.
knew parts of it because
Hmm.
I've been reading those letters that I wrote when I was in Africa, and parts of it I'll like read something that the Peace Corps told us, and I'm like, as a 54-year-old woman, that sounds very different than it sounded to like a 23-year-old kid just out of school. And I'm like, wait a second, who the hell did we think we were?
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is I am very anti-racist.
Right.
Very. And I have some racist shit I need to dig up and get out. And I realized that on the journey. I was like, fuck, why do I have this? And then but then if you think about it, why wouldn't I have it? I'm a colonizer. I mean, I'm not, but I am,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Well, we all have some unlearning to do.
Yeah,
We
but it
we
was
all
like,
probably have a lot of unlearning to do.
we do. We do.
Yeah.
And I was also thinking about that person I was dating. One of the things that he said that drove me nuts is because after George Floyd, I was like, you're racist. You know, like, you, not me, you're racist. But but he was like, this is what he said that really pissed me off. He said, but I work with black people and I like them. And that made me mad, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then but then I thought about it. Like, how many black people was I really hanging out with on a regular basis?
Well,
Right? Like,
yeah.
most of the people that I know are white. Now, I know a lot of Hispanic people because I happen to be married into that
Yeah.
or I was married, but they're still my family, right?
Right.
So, it's just that I think what I realized is that that was a bit of projection onto that man when he
Mm.
said that I had black friends, you
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
like,
Yep. Yep.
like, okay, I was able to point that out in him, but not myself.
Yeah.
For some reason, that came up on my journey, and I was like, oh, this runs a lot deeper than I thought it did. It
Hmm.
runs a lot deeper, and there is work to do to extract that.
Yeah.
There is work to do because I don't want it to be in there.
Well, I think it's great that you are acknowledging it and you're actually saying it out loud, like
Well,
to where people can hear. Do you know what I mean? Like you're
I
not just
feel like
like,
I need to.
well, yeah, but I mean, but a lot, I could see a lot of people having that experience and then going, I'm just going to work on this quietly and not tell anybody. Do you know what I mean? But
But
you're being very candid, and I think that's something to, you know,
but
that's something
that
to consider and be glad about.
but that is my job as number 1 as a human being,
Yes.
because we are all one. But number 2, as a podcaster, that is my job,
Yeah.
is to say that out loud so that all of our listeners, they can say, "Oh, do I also have that? Have I also had similar thoughts?" And just
Hmm.
brush them off and not given them because it's the thoughts that it's not that we have them, we're all going to have them.
Yeah.
It's the fact that we brush them off and we don't look at them and we don't bring them into the light so that we can say, oh, I had that thought and that thought is not right. That thought is wrong. Instead,
Mhm.
we pretend like the thought doesn't exist. How do
Mhm. We
we
don't
ever?
examine them at all.
And so, how do we ever fix the thought if we don't even admit that it's there?
Yeah.
Like,
That's
what
a
the
very
fuck
good
was,
point.
like, what the fuck was I doing in Africa? Let's be for real. I mean, and I love my family in Africa.
Yeah.
I do. I love them. And I did not save them. They kept me alive. I would have died out there on my own. I don't know how to do shit. I don't know how to cook. I don't know how to garden. Like, really, they kept me alive.
Yeah.
But, and it was a beautiful experience, but it's not what we pretend it is.
Yes.
And what was my motivation for going?
What do you think, what at the time, what did you think your motivation was for going?
I had
Or
some
what
really,
was it at the time?
you're going to laugh when I say this, but I'm just going to tell the truth.
Okay.
So, growing up, I loved to read stories about the wild, wild west and the
Okay.
cowboys versus the Indians.
Okay.
I love to read those stories. And I always, I can't believe I'm going to tell this out loud. I always wanted to be the white woman that was stolen by the Indians. I should say Native Americans, but the way the
Yeah.
stories were written at the time,
Yeah.
but you know that I mean indigenous people.
Yes.
So I apologize that I even said it that way, but I mean indigenous people. I wanted to be the white settler woman who was stolen by the indigenous people, and then I became one of them.
Okay.
And because it was impossible to do in the United States, I thought I'll go visit other cultures and see what that's like. I didn't really have any thought that I was going to go save people. That was not my
Wow.
motivation. I wanted to delve into a culture that I didn't understand.
Okay. Okay. Well, you know, that's that's an interesting way of, kind of getting to, you wanted to learn about other cultures.
Yeah. But I remember being in like the training in the Peace Corps. And I have to say that as an adult, as someone who's older, the training was very ethnocentric. They
Mm.
would tell us things like, trying to think of exactly, just I look back, okay, I've been typing those letters in.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about the non-use of toilet paper back in the day in Senegal. I don't know if it's still the same. It probably isn't today. It's been how
Mhm.
many years that there's probably there's a lot of things that have changed. But I made first of all, the Peace Corps made such a big deal about the people in the villages not using toilet paper,
Hmm.
right?
Mhm.
And they taught us about it and which hand you're supposed to use for what. And
Yeah.
so because they made such a big deal about it, I was writing it home in all my letters, and all the people were writing back to me about it. And there were lots of jokes being made
Mhm.
about, remind me when you get home which hand to shake and da da da.
Uh,
And the Peace Corps, me, my friends, we made a lot of jokes about someone's cultural belief and never
mm.
thought twice about it.
Mhm.
Like, there
Mhm.
is a way to do a sensitivity training to say this is something that you're going to be out there and it's going to be different than what you're used to, and this is how
Right.
it's done, but it isn't how it was presented.
Right.
And it was a huge topic, and there were other things like that in Senegal. Women then, I don't know if it's the same now, they wore skirts called panyas, and they covered their
Mhm.
legs.
Mhm.
The legs were seen as sexual. Their whole top half was bare.
Mhm.
They
Mhm.
walked around with their breasts out and they had their babies on their back. And so that was something that we had to get used to, just because we actually kind of do it the opposite. We
Yeah.
cover ourselves up on the top and our legs are free to be in shorts.
Mhm.
I guess I just think some of our training wasn't like sensitive about a culture does it this way, we do it that way, it's all okay.
Right.
It was more like, well, Americans do it this way and everybody else, in my
Mhm.
view, and maybe I'm even wrong because it was so many years ago, but in my view, it was sort of like, we are superior. This is the way that you do it. But when you're out in the village, you're going to run into this.
Right.
Do you know what
You
I'm
know,
saying?
I do. And I wonder, so I never did Peace Corps. I never even thought about doing Peace Corps. There was always part of me that was like, I'm a little afraid because I don't want to be, and this is, 20 something year old me. Like I was like kind of afraid. I don't know what I'm going to get into, blah, blah. So I never even really thought about it. But I wonder, so is Peace Corps, I say that to say, I haven't really given much thought to Peace Corps other than, your experience and then a few other people that I know who've done it.
Yeah.
First off, is Peace Corps still around?
Yes.
Okay. So I know that was a stupid question, but I'm going to put it
No,
out
it's
there.
not a stupid question.
But
Yes.
so I also wonder, given the way that things have progressed and changed over time as far as sensitivity training and awareness of white savior complex and colonizer and that sort of thing, I wonder if the training for Peace Corps volunteers has changed.
I only have to hope it has changed.
If anybody listening knows anybody with the Peace Corps who's done it, say like in the last maybe 5 years, or anybody who's involved in like leadership with the Peace Corps, that would be a really cool interview to have them on and talk about that.
Yeah.
So that would be
And
interesting.
I bet you a lot of people don't feel the same way that I do about it.
I mean, I'm sure some people feel differently, but I'm sure there's plenty of people who feel in a similar way that you do.
It is a really interesting program when you think about it, that we as citizens of the United States of America go to other countries as mostly young people straight out of
Mhm,
college. Now, there were
mhm,
some people that did actually have some experience doing some type of work, but most of us did not.
mhm,
And then we are sort of like pushed out into these villages or spaces to do some work. And there were some people who had actual jobs. Like there were groups of teachers, not with us, but groups of teachers who are teaching something. Okay,
mhm.
that makes kind of some sense.
Yeah,
There are people who go and, like, one of our volunteer friends, he worked in the city and he taught accounting to small businesses. Okay,
mm,
helpful, right?
mhm, mhm, mhm.
Teaching accounting skills to help small businesses. But I just went out, and this is what I wanted. So I just went out to a village where I was going to help. Help do what? You know? Like, really? Like, help do what?
Yeah, yeah,
It did build some goodwill in some regard because my family loved me and I love my family. And
yeah,
so they got to meet someone from the United States who was just like an ordinary, normal girl.
yeah. Well, and by the same token, you got to meet somebody in Africa in their own environment as they live, not just being a tourist.
Exactly.
And
And
yeah,
there
so
is and there is a lot of value in that.
mhm,
There's a
absolutely.
lot of value in that. And I didn't just get to meet them.
Mhm,
They brought me into their family. I was their
right.
daughter. They took care of me. They get this seriously. They kept me alive. Everyone thinks I would have not survived. I do not know how to live like that.
No, I believe you because I too would have perished oh so quickly
I'm
without
kind
help.
I'm kind of a city girl.
Girl, I'm a total city girl. I don't know shit.
Anyway, I don't know how we got on this subject of the
Oh,
Peace Corps,
oh,
but
so that because you were talking about examining your own racism,
yeah.
and then we got to the white savior thing, and yeah. So okay, so going back to your experience with psilocybin, I'm so excited about this for you because it sounds like it was such a growth experience for you
It
that
was.
I'm very excited that you had that. You talk about how it was a reset for you.
Yes.
How is this going to be going forward for you? Like yes, there's the more emotional, like pinpointed for you, how's that going to be? But
Mhm.
I also want to know, because it sounds like it was very structured, going into it, the experience itself was very structured, safe. Yeah, like it was a safe place. Is there any sort of offboarding with that? Like, God, I'm
Yep.
using like corporate
No.
speak, but
Mm-mm.
is
No.
there any sort of like check back in or,
Yep.
that sort of thing?
Yeah. So I think that is another reason why if a person were seeking this for, I don't know, spiritual growth or emotional growth or whatever, why it might be a good idea to pick a group like this rather than go
Hmm.
to a concert on shrooms.
Hmm.
I'm not dissing people that go to concerts on shrooms. Have fun. That should be a really important experience as well, but
Yeah.
a very different kind of experience. After the ceremony was over, we had breakfast together. We did kind of like some sealing in events, and I don't know if I'd call it therapy, but maybe group therapy where we talk through kind of what happened. And then
Hmm.
we left. We have been on a text thread. We've been talking to each other since. We have a call
Good.
coming up next week where we get together and we talk about what has been happening in our lives. We made sort of commitments before we left about the things that we want to achieve in the next week or so, because the time period for change is right after.
Okay.
If you want to change something and you don't do it immediately, as the days go on, there's less and less chance that you're going to make that change. And for me, I also bought on Psychedelics Today. There's a podcast, Psychedelics Today. There's a magazine, Psychedelics Today. I can only remember Joe Moore and Kyle. Sorry, Kyle, I can't think of your last name. These are young men that started Psychedelics Today a long time ago, but it's become really popular. They wrote a workbook for when you get back, how do you integrate? And so I bought the workbook ahead of time.
Wow.
Yeah, actually, if you wait a second, I'll show it to you. Hold
Sure.
on.
Absolutely.
So I went online. I've been following them for a while. You know, I've been interested in this topic for a
Yeah.
really long time.
Yeah.
Okay, it's Kyle Butler and Joe Moore. They started Psychedelics Today. They have a huge following now. They wrote this integration workbook, and it basically said, so you've had a psychedelic experience. What now? Trips can bring up big feelings, memories, realizations, and then it goes on, right? And then
Hmm.
what it does is it's like a journal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that it walks you through integration. And it's called
Oh,
like planting seeds for growth. Describe how you perceive the body, mind, and spirit connection. Physical, describe your physical life, tell a story. What's your vision? It talks about self-care and grounding. I haven't
wow.
started it yet, but it's my goal to do this week.
That's
And
amazing.
now that I'm looking through it, it's broken up into days. So it says day 1, do this, day 2, do this. So I really need to start on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I did do that in preparation. I bought it so that I could work on that. And my goal is to really integrate. And one of the things that I have been really trying to do, because I didn't talk about this, but in the trip, I really worked on really hearing my voice as
Hmm.
opposed to all the other voices.
Hmm.
And when I'm talking to someone and they're mirroring me, hearing my voice. And what I mean by that is what I learned is that a lot of times I hear judgment in other people. They'll say
Hmm.
like a lot of stuff, but the only thing I'll hear is the judgment.
Right.
And I don't even know if they really said judgment, because what I realized was that's my voice. That's not their voice. And I'm narrowing in on that because that's my voice.
Hmm.
So now, since I've gotten back, I'm like, I'm really looking people in the eye. And when they're talking and I hear something that I'm like, oh, they're judging me, I'm like, I'm really listening.
Yeah.
Are they, or is that my voice? And I feel
Hmm.
really committed to really continuing to do that, because I am being judgmental of other people because I think they're judging me. And I don't think they actually are. I think it's me.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
really interesting.
Yeah. I can't wait for you to do it.
You mentioned earlier that the psychedelic or the psilocybin was talking to you.
Sort of.
So, well, yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
But so how did you experience that? Like, did you actually hear voices, or was it like a sensing?
Yeah, it's a really good question because there were lots of voices. So
Okay.
I heard my own voice. I heard other people talking, and there were other women. So I actually really did hear them talk.
Okay.
But when they were talking, just like in dreams, when you're watching the TV and you pull it into your dream,
Mm-hmm.
it was the same way.
Okay.
But when the mushrooms were talking, it was completely different. They weren't words at all. It was just like we were having this knowing conversation.
Okay.
No words at all.
Okay.
But I knew what they meant. They knew what I meant. And we were having a discussion. And we
Wow.
definitely worked out my reset. It was like, are you willing to relive the trauma to your head? Yes. Are you? And I don't know which ones. I don't
Yeah.
know exactly everything that I did because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have to actually feel it or remember all of it.
Right.
But I did kind of, I don't think I took the physical blow to my body. I took the withdrawal of the blow,
Right.
which was in many essences just as hard. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. It's wild. It's wild.
Do do you think you'll do it again?
Oh yeah, yeah. I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Okay.
I wouldn't do it very often.
Well, no, it doesn't sound like it's something that you, for the reasons that you did it and will do it again, it doesn't sound like it's something that you will need to do every month or
It's it's
even every 6 months.
it's really really hard work, number 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
Number 2, I really really am drawn to the holotropic breath work as a base,
Mhm.
and I think this was an extension of it, and I can see, I mean, it went on so much longer. So,
Yeah.
like, the holotropic breath work lasts for, like, 2.5, 3 hours. My journey on psilocybin probably lasted 10 hours. So,
Wow.
yeah, mine was really long. I learned a lot. I did not sleep.
Mhm.
I did not sleep the whole night. I learned so much so quickly, and it is really transformative. But every breath work I also did was transformative. And that my body didn't hurt for 3 days afterwards. And I didn't need to take a day off of work. And I didn't ingest anything. So to
Yeah.
me, like, what I would really recommend for people who are interested in this, and this is my own recommendation. I am not board certified. I am not a sitter. All I've had is experience. I am by no means any sort of expert. But if I were to do it again, I would
Mhm.
start with breath work. I would
Okay.
do it 2 or 3 times because it really is very gentle
Mhm.
and you learn a lot and it allows you to be in a non-ordinary state of conscious without any sort of assistance from a psychedelic.
Yeah.
And I would also do the mushrooms. I would do the mushrooms again, but
Okay.
I wouldn't do the mushrooms very often. I would really consider them very sacred.
Okay. Okay.
And again, I'm not saying if you want to play with mushrooms sometimes, I actually think the mushrooms are quite joyous and playful, and they
Mhm.
probably do like to play a little,
Mhm.
but they're also sacred medicine.
Right. Right.
And, it's a balance and it's like everything in moderation.
Yeah. I love that.
I think what you're really examining with the help of the medicine is your own mind, body, consciousness, but you're also really connected to the consciousness of the world. And really, how can you be violent towards others when you know that we're all like, how could I hurt you knowing that you are me?
Right. Wow.
In that regard, everybody should do it so that we can just love one another.
There you go.
I mean,
Wow.
really, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so glad that you had this experience, and thank you for sharing that with all of us.
Well, I got a big mouth. Always have.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, I'm excited for you. That's really cool. It's
And
really
I'm
cool.
excited for you as well. I am so proud of you. You asked for what you needed,
Thank you.
and he said yes.
Yeah, yeah,
That is a
yeah,
big fucking deal.
yeah.
Big
That's
fucking deal.
that's so huge. And he didn't act like I was asking for a kidney. You know what I mean? He's
Well,
just like, all right.
well, Raquel, you weren't. You weren't
Yes.
asking for a kidney.
Yes.
You were coming up with a solution of how you could better serve the organization. And he
Yeah.
recognized that and said, yes.
Yeah.
What a victory.
Thank you.
It
Thank
really
you.
is a victory.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we both had to have some journeys this last couple weeks.
Yeah.
I had a lot more I wanted to talk about other than that, but we really don't have any
Well,
time.
no, I think okay, we can maybe have a little more time. I think maybe just a little, because I did say at the beginning that I wanted to start I was going to start micro and then go macro. So I do
Okay,
have
go
one other
macro.
thing. I just have one other thing
Okay,
that
go macro,
literally,
girl, go
I know
macro.
that is literally, and I'm not being melodramatic at all. I really do feel this. I have been having some serious existential dread about the upcoming presidential election. I am scared shitless
Oh, fuck.
about what is going to happen. Yes, I want Biden to win. Abso-fucking-lutely. I'm afraid what will happen if he wins. I'm afraid what will happen if he does not win.
I know.
There's two different fears. Then I keep thinking, well, okay, so Biden wins. Great. We have 4 more years. Awesome. I feel like it's just staving things off a little bit, because 4 years later, oh God, help us. Like
it's not a good solution.
I am so fearful of where the country is and where the country's going. People can say I'm being melodramatic. Fine. Fuck them. I don't care. I'm being melodramatic.
You know
Like,
what we
all right,
need to
whatever.
do?
What?
We need to get Trump and Biden on some shrooms.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
Like a big fucking dose, because they got a
Yeah.
lot of trauma to like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying that as, I mean, I am joking, but I'm not really joking, because where I feel like the big disconnect with both of them, and obviously, yes, Biden has,
He's gotta win.
right.
Jesus God.
Yeah.
And then quadruple his security detail.
Yeah.
Because I'm so afraid. I'm so afraid. And I felt this when Obama got elected. I was like, sweet Jesus, if he gets elected, somebody's going to try to kill him in office. Thankfully, that did not happen. Or if it did, they haven't told us. I am so afraid that the same thing could happen if Biden gets reelected.
Why do we only get to pick between the two of them?
Yes. There are so many changes that need to happen to our political system.
Well, we had our primaries today.
Yeah. In fact, I'll be watching the news later to see how that went. Yeah. I mean, I have been so not defeated, because we can't be. I mean, we have to keep going, but definitely scared shitless for sure.
Okay. But I want you to think about that. When we buy into that fear, and I really been thinking about how the news has been playing into that lately, because they're telling us we have to vote for Biden because otherwise we'll get Trump, but both are very scary, and they're playing the fear. Somebody's controlling that from behind because they want us to act a certain way.
Yeah, I see your point. But right now I agree with it. Oh God.
I know, but that's also because we've been spoon-fed it every single day
yeah.
I remember my very first time I was able to vote.
Yeah.
I was going to vote third party, whoever it was. I don't remember who it was. And my stepmother said to me, you can't do that because then the Republicans will win. This has been going on. And I understand that Trump is not your normal politician. So I'm not trying to say that.
Yeah.
But
he's not even a normal Republican.
I know.
So, because I know not all Republicans are Trumplicans.
No, but there's some on the ballot. Like if what's his name, Ronnie Boy wins, we're going to be in the same, like he's not going to be any better, right?
Oh yeah. That's very true. That's very true. Yeah.
Ron DeSantis, if he
he's out though. He's out of the running.
Really? Because he was on the ballot
Oh,
today.
was he?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's surprising.
I looked at the Republican ballot before because they were both on the wall when I
Yeah.
was voting today.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, he was on it. There was like,
Wow.
I want to say on the Republican ticket, there were 8 names.
Interesting.
And on the Democratic ticket, there were 4.
Mm,
There was some
okay.
guy I've never heard of. There was Biden. There was Marianne Williamson. Maybe it was just the 3 of them now that I think about it.
Okay.
Oh, and
Cornell.
then no, Cornell's not on it because
Okay.
he is considered third party.
Oh, okay.
He actually could be a good choice, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But we're being told, like we're always being told, you can't vote for him because if you do, Trump will win. But maybe, just maybe, that's the message that they're sending us, so that we never get out of this 2-party that are exactly the same.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I really
Like,
do. I
like,
hear you.
like maybe that is just I remember hearing that the very first time I got to vote, and it's
Mm-hmm.
been
Oh,
like that
yeah.
ever
Yeah, same.
since.
Same.
So do they
And
just drum that up every single election so that we
I
just
think
stick
so.
to the status quo and we
I
can
think so.
never vote third party?
And honestly, I will admit, I have said to people, that's throwing your vote away. Don't do it. I've said that to
Me
people.
too, because
I kind of feel like it's still now, even though I do feel that yes, the
but what if
two-party
all of us
system, the
but what if
two-party
all of
system,
us said fuck that and we all voted for Cornell?
well, that'd be amazing. I don't think it's going to happen, but I mean, I
What's his
do.
full name?
Cornell West, I think,
Yeah,
is his
Cornell
last name.
West.
Yeah.
Okay, so is he a better candidate than both of them?
In a lot of ways, yeah.
I think he is.
Yeah. And honestly, like it's
But we'll never vote for him
the
because
two-party
of fear.
system. Oh yeah, absolutely. I will
We'll
fully admit
never
I'm scared shitless right now.
We'll
Scared
never vote
shitless.
for him because of fear, because they
Right.
told us we have to vote for Biden or Trump will win.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll never vote for him.
In this situation, I do believe that that's true. With every fiber of my being, I believe that that's true. And I heard somebody yesterday, some talking head say, but that's not true. That won't happen. And I'm like, okay, fine.
But the problem is you'd have to convince enough people
Yeah.
to vote third party. And how do we know if we have enough?
Yeah. And yeah, that's the thing. And honestly, the two-party system, I think, is broken. It may have run its course.
But how do we tear it down?
I do not know. I do not know. And one thing that I want to do is I would like, and I'm putting this out there again, different topic, but same for our listeners. If y'all know anybody who is a Democratic strategist or somebody who is knowledgeable about third parties or independent parties and how they could become a bigger, more significant part of the political system,
Well, I think
please somebody let us know.
Well, I think what we'd have to do is like I'm a registered Democrat.
Mm-hmm. I am as well.
I should, after this election, I should unregister as a Democrat and register as an independent.
Yeah.
Because just doing that says, hey, we're fucking fed up with being a Republican or a Democrat.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
And if how many of us did that, how many of us all of a sudden became independent? Maybe they'd be like, oh, we don't, because right now they make us register to say who we are. So they know who we're going to vote for.
Yeah.
They are playing us like a well-played fiddle.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. We are not in control in this situation.
No. So do we even have a vote?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I have to believe at my core that yes, we do, because if I didn't, I would never vote. And then I would just be literally rolling over and playing dead and just giving up. And I cannot do that.
Me neither. We have to vote. We have to vote, but we have got to figure out We've got to
Yeah.
figure out. Maybe we start writing our own people into the ballot. But again,
Yeah.
that's just third party also. So like, how do you know if you
Again,
have enough people?
yeah. 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 Like I really want to find somebody who can speak to this in a skilled, knowledgeable, fair way.
So if Trump wins the Republican and Biden runs the Democrat, which is
Mhm.
what we,
Mhm.
I mean, wins the
Yeah,
Democratic,
it's
which is
expected.
what we think is going to happen.
Mhm.
And Cornel
Mhm.
West is sitting in the middle.
Mhm.
And we're not sure because we haven't done a lot of research, but we believe Cornel West might be the better of the three candidates. We're still, none of us are going to vote for him.
Yeah, not in this election. I'm not. I can't. Even though I'm saying that our system is broken
It will
for
never
this
change.
for this particular election.
They'll do the same thing. Well,
I
eventually
know.
Trump will die, I guess. But eventually he'll
Nope.
die, but there'll just be another one, Raquel.
No, it'll just be, Trump and cockroaches. It'll just, they're the only things that are going to survive. Trump and cockroaches.
But we're all one. So you're Trump too.
Ah, hell.
So
Oh, God.
how do we, so I think that is like the real question is
Yeah.
like, I don't actually even have the real question.
The real question is how do we
Heal?
fucking, how do we heal, and how do we save the fucking how do we save humanity, for God's sake? I mean, that's a big question, but
Well, I think that we have to tip the tide. Well, when we heal ourselves, we heal the planet, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's everybody's
got to do the work, man. It can't just be me and you.
well, it's not. And
No, I know.
that we have had so many guests that's their
Yeah,
work. They're healing
yeah.
the world.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and Trump is probably never going to do the work.
Oh God, no.
Maybe we could slip some psilocybin into his evening meal.
Into his McDonald's hamburger.
Oh, I mean, I bet his trip would be like his journey would be like,
Oh, it would be awful.
I mean, who knows? Who knows what he'd see? But if he
Mm.
could somehow connect with the humanity in someone else, because I don't think he can.
Oh, I sincerely doubt that he can.
Yeah.
I sincerely doubt that he has the ability to do that. I even wonder, even when his kids were babies, if he was able to connect with the humanity in his own children.
No, he didn't take care of his babies.
Well, I'm not saying take care, because
No.
God knows that didn't happen. But I even wonder if, like, at first meeting his children as infants, literally fresh on the planet, if he was like, wow.
No.
Oh.
No, because
Yeah.
if that had happened, he would have been forever changed.
That's a good point.
And he's not changed. No. No, that didn't happen.
Damn.
I can almost
Well,
guarantee it.
then if that didn't change him, I honestly wonder if psilocybin would be strong enough to change him.
Those little beautiful mushrooms are kind of persuasive.
Mm.
They're so cute.
Something to think about. Are they?
Yeah. Yeah, they're really cute. They're really quite beautiful and intricate, and they're all kind of in their own little shape and size, and some have little designs. And I was really intrigued by the beauty of the psilocybin.
Kind of like people.
Yep. 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 Yep.
Wow.
Any final thoughts?
Only that it's a mixed bag. There's good, there's bad, and there's growth in both of them, whether we want to admit it or not. That's probably the quickest way I could sum it up. What about you?
Well, the next episode, I will have a big badge on my, because
On your face?
I'm having my my basal skin cancer removed. So the next time
Ah,
we meet, I will have a just so you're not
a
freaked out.
bruise.
It'll be a they're gonna
Bandage.
take bandit. Thank you. I can't even think of the damn name for too many drugs. Let me tell you. I'm just kidding. I think hard to know.
Well, again, the good with the bad. You'll have, a big bandage, but you're getting rid of something that's bad, and you'll go through a little period where it's a little,
Ugly.
oh, okay. And then you'll emerge and be
And
your
my
lovely,
true
beautiful,
beauty.
safe self. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a good chat tonight, Raquel.
Yeah. Yeah. I like this. I'm glad we did this. I'm glad we talked about all of this.
Me
Thank you for
too.
sharing.
You too.
Thank you.
Both of our drugs.
Exactly. Better living through chemistry. Thanks everyone for listening today. We will be back with more Madness Cafe next week. You can find us on Instagram at Madness Cafe Podcast or email us at madnesscafepodcast@gmail.com. Bye.